Atmaz will be joining. Just wait a minute. Okay guys, I'm back and this time with Atmaz. Welcome.
Hello.
Atmaz.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, since Atmaz can't be joining the ScrollsTalks at 19 GMT, he's now here with me. So
yeah, I can't really make there's going to be a ScrollsTalks later today, for those who don't know, and I unfortunately can't make it. I really do have a lot to say about what's going on with Scrolls right now. There's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of speculation. I really would like to clear it up as much as possible, as well as just talk about the whole situation, because it matters a lot to me. I'm deeply invested in Scrolls, and I care about it. And there's a lot of important topics right now, so I would like to say something before I go off to London, because I will be leaving tomorrow for Minecon, and I pretty much won't be very accessible during the weekend. I'll be working at the convention, so I wanted to say what I could while I could.
Okay, I'm just going to raise your volume, Atmaz. Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, you should be able to just right-click my name, I think, and actually, no, not in TeamSpeak. You could raise TeamSpeak's volume.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Okay.
But thanks anyway. So. Okay. Hope this helps. Okay. Can you test it, Atmaz? Say something.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, guys, if it's not better, just tell me. And that's a new follower. Thank you, Mr. Grumpy Turtle. So, let's see. So, Scrady had some questions he made up. So, let's just go over those first, and later we can just, talk more. So.
Yeah, so I guess we'll be borrowing, as long as Squiddy's fine with this. I think we have to ask some visitors and link this stream. We'll be sharing Squiddy's itinerary for the ScrollsTalks schedule. I would like to expand on it a little bit. It's very general. It'll be great to watch. There's going to be a lot of people there with a lot of opinions, but yeah, we can use that as a guide.
Okay, so it still seems to be a problem with the audio. Let's first fix that before we go through the questions. Let's see. Strange. Dang you, Ananas. Sorry. Strange. It's really strange. The computer is doing weird things. Wait. No. Yes. Professional. Okay. Atmaz.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. Can you test it again? Test. Yeah. Okay.
Testing. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Testing.
Okay, I'm not going to start with the questions if the sound is not good, so let's first make sure that's good. Guys, is it better now? Atmaz, say something again. Testing.
Testing 1, 2, 3. The arsonist had oddly shaped feet.
Still seems quiet. What the hell is happening? Okay, sorry. Let's see. Yeah, the problem is I'm just louder. Let's try and fix that. Oh wait, I know the solution, finally. Okay, let's try again. Testing, Atmaz, say something.
Hello, 1, 2, 3. Hello, testing.
Okay guys, is this better? I've lowered myself, so it should be. Waiting for the answers. Could be louder, you mean Atmaz could be louder or I could be louder?
Hello, how are you? Testing. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Better, but a little bit more. I don't know. Okay, a little bit more. I guess I'm still a little bit too loud. Oh, but some say it's fine now. Okay, if it's fine now, I guess we can start.
It's fine now?
Atmaz should be a bit louder. Okay, so I guess I'll make myself a little less loud, quieter, yes. There. Okay, I guess it's fine now. Just one more test, Atmaz. Testing.
Hello, 1, 2, 3. My name is Atmaz, blah, blah, blah.
And I hope it's fine now. So, just to know, Atmaz, when do you have to leave?
I have to leave today in a few hours to take my wife to the airport.
Okay.
And I will be pretty much gone for a few hours after that. And that is the reason I'd like to come on and talk about some things before the Scrolls Talks, which is going to be in a few hours. I don't know how much people heard and how much people didn't when I was talking earlier, but there will be a Scrolls Talk later today. I can't make it because I will be at the airport. And there's a lot to talk about, a lot of important topics. I'd like to say as much as I can before I'm gone to London.
Yeah.
Which is tomorrow. I'm going to the airport today for a different reason, but tomorrow I do leave. And yeah, I'd just like to talk about some things because there's obviously lots to say.
Okay, so first the questions of Scritty, and then we can just talk. So, Scritty's question was your thoughts about Echo's release, if they've been playing around with the new cards in a live environment.
Yeah, so I mean, Echo's release, obviously it's a lot of fun. I personally enjoyed it quite a lot. I think a lot of the new units are interesting. I think there's really no big problems there. There's probably some balance issues there. It's always something that's being worked on.
Yes.
And, I think one thing that I'd like to point out is that Prior to Echoes, I think we got Scrolls to a point where it was probably the most balanced it ever was. At least diversity that we were seeing, diversity in decks on the ladder, in tournaments. It was, I'd say, before Echoes, it was just about as balanced as it ever was. And of course, you throw in 60 new scrolls, it's going to throw it all off. There's going to have to be some adjustments, and everyone has their different idea on that. But it's recognized that it's just an eventuality that has to happen, just because of our low testing population. Like if the test server, in an ideal world, you have hundreds of people on the test server playing these decks and giving feedback on everything, saying what is too strong, what isn't. We really didn't get a lot of that, which is understandable. There weren't a lot of testers. We got a lot of bug reports, which is more important, really, than the balance and just making sure it worked.
Yeah.
But ideally, we'd have both channels of feedback where we can make it absolutely perfect. It wasn't. It wasn't expected to be. But yeah, I think overall, after the last balance patch, Echoes is in a better spot than it was. It was in a fine spot when it came out, really. And it'll probably get hopefully a lot better after the last balance patch. And yeah, overall, I think Echoes is great. Lots of new scrolls. I don't think there's any problems there.
Yeah, I agree with the fact it's almost impossible to release it perfect, balanced the first time, so there always has to be some tweaks and stuff. So, any more comments about Echoes? A favorite scroll, maybe?
Oh, favorite scroll? Oh, that's too hard. Actually, my favorite scroll, when I was looking at all the design document for it, the one that I thought was going to be everybody's favorite, and I'm really surprised it wasn't, was Corpse Theft. I was like, oh my god, you could steal an opponent's unit. That's like never happened before in Scrolls. That's like pretty much a new mechanic. Because, Scrolls was advertised. I don't know the word. I mean, Echoes was said to not have any new mechanics. It would all use existing mechanics. Well, Corpse Theft is an outlier in that it's a completely new mechanic, and I thought it was super interesting. So that's probably my favorite scroll. At least it was. I don't know about after release.
Yeah, there was a lot of
automatons are really fun.
There was a lot of talk about Corpse Theft, like, what? You can use it on your opponent's units too? Oh my god!
Yeah.
I knew was the first reaction, but yeah. So
yeah.
Okay, let's just get further. The next question Squiddy had on its document was thoughts on the news of Scrolls no longer receiving any content patches.
Well, so these questions, I mean, they're weird for me to answer. I mean, obviously, I would love to have new content patches all the time. I think everyone would love to have new content patches for Scrolls for all eternity. Let me read that question again.
Yeah, it's the second.
Thoughts on the news of Scrolls no longer receiving any content. Okay, so yeah, so the big news, right? Yeah, I mean, it's sad. Everybody is upset about it. Everyone is emotional about it. At least a lot of people are emotional about it. Some people probably took it worse than others. Some people may not have cared. But yeah, it's sad. This is a game that a lot of people, including myself, have invested a lot of time into. Has enjoyed for for a couple years now. And it just, in your head, you'd love it to continue forever, but it's not going to. It's not sustainable. It's totally understandable why it has to stop. And if you stop and think about it, if you look at it from an outside perspective and you really just sit down and look at things, you have to understand why it can't continue. Even without being behind the scenes, without knowing the numbers, you can just see as a player that retention numbers are not high enough to sustain continued development without drastic changes. And for drastic changes to happen, basically, bottom line, it means more resources, more investment into the game, incredible risk. And for a player to tell the development team that you must take this risk because, I mean, obviously everyone's emotional, and it feels like you can demand that of them, but stepping back as a player, I mean, you wouldn't be the one taking the risk with those sort of changes being made. So it's easy to say that this should be done or that should be done or do this. But look at it from the eyes of the development team. Look at it from the eyes of the whole studio. And think to yourself, does it really make sense to go forward with huge risks like that when it's already proven that there are problems, there are underlying problems that need to be fixed, whatever those may be, or steps need to be taken in advertisement or marketing or whatever. All of those things are risks. All of those things are investments, and all I ask is that you understand the perspective of the studio, of the team here. Um, they worked hard. They worked their butts off. I know Mans has been on the team for 3 years. Uh, I know Cartelizer has. A lot of them have been. Mons really, he's taking this. If the fans are taking it hard, there's no one taking it worse than Mons. I guarantee you, it's hitting him hard. It's not. He's not happy about it at all. It's not what he wanted to do. It's not what he wanted to happen. But it has, and they care. Mons cares. The whole team cares, and it's tough. It's tough for them. It's tough for the fans. It's tough for me. But it makes sense. And yeah, I would just say, as an answer to that question, I would put an overarching sad face.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because yeah, it's bad for us that the game is quitting, but we are not really thinking the developers, it's maybe even worse for them to stop quitting, because we only saw the post from no more further support, but the feelings of the developers, they are like even worse than us maybe.
So I want to answer some questions in chat now, because there's a lot of good discussion coming in. I see a comment, there was a window of time where that extra risk would have been very reasonable. That is such a speculative comment to make that you can't possibly be proven wrong. Like, and that's what most comments boil down to, that if you would have done this at this time, game fixed. That you can't be proven wrong there. I mean, it's a valid argument, but I mean, I would argue that it's not just small risks that would have to be taken. It's not just, change the wild system, put in threshold, or get rid of wild. That is not the core problem. And I'm not saying it's not a problem. I'm saying that's not the core problem with player retention. The people who leave Scrolls, the majority of the numbers who leave Scrolls, don't give a flying crap about wild. They never even recognize the importance of multicolor, or even that multicolor exists. The game for the general playing population is difficult to get into. Scrolls is a hard game. Regardless of what any pro player would tell you, or someone who thinks he's really good, like, oh, you're a noob, Scrolls is easy. No, it's hard. For the average Joe Schmo who picks up Scrolls and plays, it's hard to get into. And I personally feel that the steps that need to be taken are more in that direction, more than make the game better balanced for veteran players and target that niche. I mean, obviously the niche that enjoys Scrolls is not big enough to sustain Scrolls, so the game needs to expand in its demographics. And mostly I'm talking about making it easier for new players, making the learning curve a little less steep, simplifying things, and things in that direction. And when you say, well, it should have already been done, it should have already been risked in the beta. There were a lot of risks taken in beta. Were there enough risks taken in beta? I mean, that's so subjective and speculative, you could never possibly answer that. But, yeah, it's never argued that every decision made was perfect. But I really encourage people to give a second look when they make a comment like, do X and then Y will happen. Because all I can say is, okay, I mean, I accept that argument. Alright, that was a long answer to a short question.
Okay. So, You just answered the question actually, but
Scrolls came out. I'm mostly answering me out here because he's the one answering questions.
mhm.
Scrolls came out very much before a true CCG was on the market. Sure. And what did the numbers show you? You can look at open beta. Who here? Raise your hand if you were here during release day in open beta. How many people were online in Scrolls? How many players? This was before Wild existed. Wild doesn't come into effect here. How many players were online when open beta started? It was thousands. I can't remember the exact number, but it was thousands. It was a lot of players.
Yeah, it's true.
How many of those players stuck around, and why didn't they stick around? Well, you can't say it's because of Wild. You can't say it's because of multicolor. There was a decline in players, and there's always been a steady problem with retention. It's been recognized. This isn't news. We've talked about it a while. We have a problem with retention. A lot of the changes we've made have to deal with retention. And this kind of goes along the lines of, okay, so maybe there were improvements made after, this is where you can start picking it apart. What if there are improvements made after open beta, where if open beta were to happen again with game state now, would there be the same retention problems? So obviously you can never possibly answer that. But I would say yes, their retention would probably be better. It would hopefully be better. There's been lots of work spent in that direction. But would it be where it needs to be? Well, numbers aren't showing that they are. The Humble Bundle was a huge advertisement boom. By the way, I see a lot of arguments. There's no advertisement. There was advertisement. It wasn't the grand sweeping television commercials and YouTube streamer promotion that a lot of people would like to have seen. But there was advertisement, and one of those efforts was the Humble Bundle. Yes, the Humble Bundle what took effort to produce. It was an advertisement move. What did the numbers show you from the Humble Bundle? We had, 10 to 1,200, I think, as the Humble Bundle came out, and slowly declining over days, weeks. Back to the standard go-to number is about 200 peak or so lately. So that already shows you that the advertisement, that the efforts that are being spent don't have the retention numbers that make continuing advertisement appealable or worth the investment. So it goes back to the core problem of the retention problem. And why is there a retention problem? And I gotta say, I don't see a lot of people hitting the mark here, what I think the mark is. And the mark is appeal to new players, simplify the game, speed up the game. If you didn't see, Total Biscuit made a video today on Scrolls, on the news of Scrolls. And one of the things he mentioned, now a lot of the things are a little off because he hasn't played in a while, but one of the things he mentioned, the game was too long. He played, when Scrolls came out open beta, he said the game was too long. It took him upwards of 40 minutes some matches. And you know what? I agree with him. I don't think 40 numbers is the average number. But the game length is a problem. I love the game length. As a player, this is my niche. This is my kind of game. I love strategy games. I will play this game all day long. I don't care if it's 30 minutes. I don't care if it's 40. I don't care if it's 50. Well, I probably care if it's 50. But to me, I like the game length. But I understand that for a lot of players, that's not the case. And I think steps were taken to help that problem. A lot of ways. I think there probably more could have been done. I think some actually heard it a little bit. But it was a recognized issue, and it's always something that was worked on. But it's stuff like that that is the core issue here, and not Wild, not advertisement. Well, okay, I'm not going to argue that. So first of all, yes, more advertising would bring more players into the game. But the issue here is how many of those players that advertising brings in would stay and play. And the numbers that were shown internally, the numbers that were shown publicly, you can just look at the graphs of Scrolls Guide and see, do not support sustained advertisement without drastic changes.
Well, yeah, that was a long answer.
It is a long answer. I hope I'm not being too verbose, but there's a lot to say here, and I've been reading Reddit, I've been reading everything, all the players, and there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there, I think. And I'm not devaluing anyone's opinions. I'm not dismissing anyone's concerns. I'm not saying you're wrong. That's not the case. A lot of this is so speculative, but I do think a lot of comments are missing the mark, or are not taking into account a lot of things. And the developers are going to answer some questions from Reddit and from just frequently asked questions here soon. Hopefully tomorrow. I'm not quite sure. I don't want to give a date on that, but they have a lot to say about it as well. And yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I can't wait to hear that from them, their perspective. And also said sometimes that if all players would come back, Scrolls would be had enough players. But the problem is they're not coming back.
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, some are coming back, but it's more that. So you gotta think like when you play a video game yourself. Like, how often have you played a video game and not enjoyed it right away, shut it down, and said, "I'll come back later." You know, you say that to yourself. I say that to myself a lot, but it's really not the case. Your first impression is so important with games that it's more about if we lose a player, it's going to be really hard to get them back. Especially there are other things too. Like one of the mistakes that were made, and it's recognized, is that when Scrolls accounts were made, there was no agreement, like a checkbox, where we could email players again and say, "Hey, there's this huge update for Scrolls. We've made these changes, these improvements. Come out and check it out again." We didn't have that checkbox, so we couldn't. It's like a legal concern. We couldn't just spam everybody with Scrolls accounts saying there's new update, even though we wanted to share with them all these great changes we made. We couldn't do it. So that's a missed opportunity, but still, I don't think it solves, as I mentioned many times, the core issue of player retention. I see a comment about you can make the same argument with Hearthstone. Hearthstone is much more punishing for newer players. I have to completely disagree there. I think if anybody does it right, a surprise. I play Hearthstone. I play a lot of card games. I love all strategy games. By the way, can you still hear me? My computer just flashed.
Yeah, I can still hear you. No
Okay.
problem.
Okay, so I would argue against that completely. Hearthstone does it so well for the new player. Your hand is held into Hearthstone, and first of all, Hearthstone's a much simpler game, so it's got that going for it. And Hearthstone brings you in, it holds your hand, it's got all these fancy, flashy things, and it says, "Hey, this is how the game works. Here's some basic cards to play with. This will step you up in this tutorial, and it's like a fun campaign. It's like a story mode thing with voice actors, and it's just right away it just hooks you. Like, wow, this game's pretty cool." Now the argument can be made, can you jump right into ranked and like have a competitive deck? No, but Hearthstone has a great arena thing. Like, you never even have to step into a game against other players. The skill cap, the skill floor for Hearthstone is so much lower than for Scrolls. You have to have such little understanding of Hearthstone to get in, to play a game, and to actually have a chance of winning, because the cards in the game are incredibly there's a lot of RNG involved, a lot of unpredictability. It's a lot like poker in a lot of ways, where it's more dependent on your hand than the way you're playing the game. The game itself is fairly simple. I'm not dismissing Hearthstone. I like Hearthstone. I like Scrolls. I like all card games. I feel like I have to put a disclaimer after everything. But really, I don't. But yeah, I don't think you can really make the argument that Hearthstone is hard to get into, because that's like the best thing it has going for it. It's incredibly easy to get into, and historically, the video games that are easy to get into and are easy for casual players to enjoy are the games that have the backbone, that support huge competitive scenes and are hugely popular and have communities contributing crazy amounts of content to. And yeah, so that's my feelings on the Hearthstone beginner experience versus the Scrolls beginner experience. Now, I'm not going to say, so it's not like we didn't recognize there was an issue with the Scrolls beginner experience. A lot of effort was spent, changing the way you pick your deck when you start, changing the tutorial, adding tutorials. There used to be no tutorials. Adding tutorials, tweaking the tutorials, all these little things. There could have been so much more done there, and it's recognized. It's not like, oh, we tried the best we could. We tried, or the team tried as hard as they could for as long as they could, but it just wasn't enough. Ideally, the team would have been so much larger, so much more time and energy could have been spent on that area. We could have brought in voice actors with awesome effects and things like that, but it's just not reality. And the reason it's not reality is because expanding that large, becoming that large suddenly, when the Scrolls team is so small, and you want to expand that large to support that sort of thing, that's such a huge risk, such a huge shift in operations that you can't. Can you really reasonably expect the team to go forward with that without thinking twice about it? You know, it's an incredible risk to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, interesting answer. And to say about the first impression, I can understand that because I once played a game and it didn't seem that cool, but later I discovered from a friend that he liked it very much. I tried it again, and suddenly I liked the game very much.
Here is, thanks to see me scrolling. Hold on.
Yeah.
So here's a graph of the users online at open beta release, and this is public information. This is not. You can see this on Scrolls Guide. So look at that. Over 25,000 users online in the last 24 hours within the first day. Look at the drop off. I don't have to convince you that there is a player retention problem. And when comments are made about advertise the game more, do this, do that, look at this issue here. This is something that the team is working on and tried really hard to fix. And you can debate about why this problem exists all day long, and I'll debate it with you because I think it's a very deep topic, and it's more than just change X or change Y. This is the core of it, and I'm probably repeating myself here. This is a deeply involved, difficult strategy game. How do you present this to the playing public in a way that they can consume and enjoy right off the bat? Do that, and you would have found the magic bullet that turns things around. And I argue that it just and this is why the decision was made. Or part of why the decision was made. It just wasn't feasibly achievable with the size of the Scrolls team. It was recognized. We all wish it was so different, but this is a project that would have required tripling, quadrupling. I mean, I'm just throwing out numbers here, but hugely expanding the Scrolls team. And it was a risk that I don't think anyone was ready to take. There's been no, as much as the developers love the game, as much as they've invested their lives into the game, the decision was just made that it couldn't be sustained. Regrettably, I mean, this is all very sad. It's not like they did this so flippantly, where it's like, okay, game failed, pull the plug. First of all, I don't want to call the game a failure either, because you can measure success in so many different ways. And I consider Scrolls a success in that for the few years it was here, thousands of players played it and enjoyed the heck out of it. How many great memories do people have playing Scrolls? How many fun times in the tournaments? The community in Scrolls is awesome. It's always been one of the best things about Scrolls, really, is the devoted player base and the good people that were involved in Scrolls and that enjoyed the game. I think the type of people Scrolls attracts in general is a great type of person. I think that in general, like, you can just sit in the general chat of Scrolls and talk to people and just get along with them just because they're similar to you. If you like this game, someone who's playing it has a high chance of being similar to you. But yeah, so I think it's a success in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's not like this decision was made so harshly. It's painful for everyone. It's especially painful for the developers. Not that anyone has to feel sorry for them. Let's put things in perspective here. This game costs $5 now. Okay, it was $20 or whatever. I mean, I paid the full price for it when I started playing, and I've gotten more value out of this game than I have. I can't tell you how many other AAA titles. The value I got from this game is immeasurable, and I think it's the same for a lot of people. This is a $20 game. Okay, have you gotten your money's worth here? I have to argue, for me personally, more that and then some. Even before I'm community manager, even before any of that, this game was worth it. This game was great, and I wouldn't do anything different, as in like not play it. Scrolls was great, and I think it's important to put that in perspective when we're making demands of a development team. I spent $5. You know, well, I'm not gonna go that direction, but just keep things in perspective here. The team works hard. The team really wanted this to succeed, to continue, for development to continue. It's just not. It's not.
Doable.
Not practical. Doable, yeah.
I have to say though that that graph really hits me, and like WBMC says, it hurts to see that graph.
Yeah, it's a difficult graph to look at, and I keep responding to Miak just because everything he says, I just have a immediate thought. So the graph is generally normal for almost every game release. Yes, I completely agree with you. 99% of games out there are not wild runaway successes. There are a few that are, and those hit a magic nerve in the gaming community. Hearthstone's probably a great example of that. Do you think Hearthstone's numbers look like this? Do you think Hearthstone's graph looks like this? No. Guarantee you that I have no idea, by the way. I'm just I think it's completely founded speculation, though. Games like League of Legends. In fact, League of Legends' graph would be flipped, right? Flip this horizontally. That'd be League of Legends. Dota. Countless number of runaway successes. But I will agree, the majority of games look like this. And that's okay for the majority of games, because the majority of games don't depend on a large amount of players online to make a lush matchmaking system. In order for a matchmaking system to be perfect, you need to have a large amount of players. First of all, a matchmaking system is never perfect, but for it to work correctly, for it to be an oiled piece of machinery, you need lots of players online queuing into that matchmaking system so that skill levels are more accurately represented, and players are matched with players of more of their skill level, and that comes down to it's like a vicious cycle, right? That comes down to player satisfaction. So you log in, you play ranked, you're some new guy playing against NERP or something, and you get stomped and like, I hate this game. So it's like a vicious cycle, right? It's okay for most games to have a cycle like this, but for a multiplayer game with a matchmaking system, no. No. You need to have a sustained amount of players to continue that great matchmaking experience, to continue that overall satisfaction with the game.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry, I tend to I'm obviously deeply invested in Scrolls, and
Yes.
I have strong opinions about it. And I could talk about Scrolls all day long. So bring it on.
Well, is there anything more you would say about the sad news, or can we go to the last question?
Well, I mean, there's still questions coming in chat. I think as long as you don't have a problem, I'm completely comfortable.
No, you can do it. Sure.
Okay. Okay. Oh, here's a great piece of information here, because I see. And this goes along well with another man. Miak is such a contributor today. So Miak says he doesn't think a CCG is something that can be supported reasonably with the size of the team that Mojang had. I couldn't agree with that statement more. Yeah, and he goes on to say CCGs are like MMOs where you require constant updates and a lot of work, or else you start losing. Yes, and that has always been a part of the core issue. Like, there needs to be more. There needs to be a bigger skeleton to the flesh of Scrolls. And here's a great example. This is just a public picture here. Here is the team of Hearthstone 1 year ago. Okay, this is 1 year ago, the Hearthstone team. All right, that is 1 year ago. They've grown since, and now are more than the entire population of the Mojang studio. Put that in perspective, and then consider the demands and requests that players have of the Scrolls team. Just think about that for a moment. And then think about, and this is not that you have to feel sorry for them. Think about the stress and just what the team has to hear and listen to and deal with and just, you know, they're insulted on a regular basis, and that's okay. I mean, you're not required to love the Scrolls team, and I think a lot of the negativity out there is from a vocal minority. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think the majority of people out there really appreciate the Scrolls. I know a lot of people do, and they really have appreciated the Scrolls team and given them support over the years. And there's no denying so many players have given them support over the years. But I gotta say, like, a lot of the negativity coming out after this news it's hit them hard. It's not. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good as a community to see it. I don't think it's good for the developers to have to stomach it. I really would like players to have a little bit more understanding, and you know, not that you have to, everyone has to hug and all that, but really, just put things in perspective and realize what reality is. Realize where Scrolls reality is and was, and yeah.
Yeah, I actually feel bad for the developers now. I mean, they love this game, and then they hate to quit it, and then they see all the reactions from us. It's pretty, yeah.
I see. The team went on holiday was a bit suspect. I mean, if you're gonna talk about the team's vacation times, Sweden is a different working culture than a lot of other countries, but it's not like they were unreasonably on vacation. The reason why vacations affected Scrolls so much is because the team was so small. You couldn't take a vacation. One person couldn't take a vacation in Scrolls without affecting the entire team, like by a factor of 50%. Um, so yes, I mean, vacations are Scrolls, but they're people who work at a job and they get vacations. So this just goes back to the team size. And if you're demanding of them not to take any vacations, I mean, I have no answer for that. All I can say is if you have ever worked a job where you work long hours and you work hard at it, you deserve vacations.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of that, and a lot of that was why they brought on community managers. By the way, I don't think a lot of the I think a lot of the days off were so much easier to stomach because Gareth and I were around to push contests and content and news and you know, have things to talk about and discuss the days or weeks they were gone. I think that helped out a lot, and I think it's one of the biggest differences we made. Sorry, I'm not crying. I actually have hiccups because I drink a lot of coffee. But yeah, I mean, vacations happened, and I don't think it's reasonable to request that they stop taking vacations.
Yeah. So, any more questions from the comments you want to answer?
No. I mean, I hope I probably missed some. I apologize, and I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah.
I really wish that I could be there for the Scrolls Talks later today, because these are discussions, these are questions that, I mean, I'm having just my voice here, like, and I'm just responding in chat with how I could, but these discussions work so much better when there's, you know, there's differing views and it's a back and forth, and there's really a lot to talk about, and I really wish I could be there later today, but I'm glad I could be here, and thanks for having me for some of these questions. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry if I'm not talking that much.
No.
Back and forth.
No. That's it's fine. I was just interested. I'm just glad to have a soapbox to stand on.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we do the last question. Squiddy asks, your favorite memory of Scrolls?
That's pretty tough. Favorite memory of Scrolls? I gotta say, it has to be so there's a lot of great memories. Obviously, I would say the coolest memory, and probably my favorite memory is Varus. You know, the fact that Varus exists in his current form, just because of a joke that I did, and that it was carried forward, and I think that's really funny and cool. And I've never been part of a video game before, and in a small way, I think I am now. So I can say that. I can say, hey, I'm in a video game, kind of, maybe. That's pretty cool. But as I think my favorite experience, like as far as like playing the game or being part of the game, was when I guess I should kind of start with how I got started in Scrolls and streaming Scrolls and how that all happened. So I never intended to stream Scrolls a lot. I never intended to stream any game a lot. For those who don't know, I mean, I don't stream that much anymore, but you know, like a year ago or longer, I used to stream like daily Scrolls all the time. But I started one day, I picked up Scrolls. A friend of mine said, hey, there's this new card from Mojang coming out called Scrolls. I had no idea. He told me the day before open beta. I'm like, oh, cool, I'll give it a try. I played it, loved it, played the heck of it all day. It's all I played. Got really high in the ranking. Was like 2,000 plus rating. You know, top 20, top 10 every day. You know, this is when we had like thousands and thousands of players, so the competition was a lot more spread out. And so I got really good at it, and I streamed. And the very first day I streamed, I got like 250 viewers, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" I expected to get like 10. This is the first time I'd ever streamed. Or I was lucky to have I was happy to have one viewer. I had like 200 people watching. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And now I'm stuck with this name, Poopy Butts, because I made the Twitch name just as a joke. First of all, so now I have to go back even further. The reason why I started using Twitch was because there was a Mario 64 speedrunner named Saglemic. Maybe somebody in chat knows who that is. But this guy was like incredible at Mario 64, completing it as fast as possible, and I love Mario 64. So I watched him, and if you've ever been in that guy's chat, you can understand why I maybe have named myself Poopy Butts, because it's a very... the chat there is certainly an experience, and I didn't really care. I just wanted to talk and put Franker Z's and whatever else while he was playing the game. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, I didn't bother making a new account when I streamed Scrolls because I never could predict the future. And yeah, so I'm streaming like with this name Poopy Butts with like 250 viewers. I'm like, what is wrong with people? Why would you watch me? And you know, long story short, I continue to stream, and I still haven't answered the question, my favorite memory. So because I streamed a lot, I was asked by one of the ESL Scrolls admins at the time. His name was Mizosa. I'm probably butchering it. Began with an M. And he said, hey, we're going to be doing the Scrolls playoffs, or the ESL playoffs soon. And would you like to cast it? And I was like, yeah, heck yeah, I would like to cast it. And this was back when there was no spectating, there was no replays. Everything had to be done through a third-party mod. So I had to it was just a chore. But a great chore to have to collect everyone's replays after these games are played, to cast the replays as recordings and then upload them wherever. That whole experience of covering tournaments, you know, ever heard the phrase "triumph through adversity"? Like, things are so hard to make work that it just makes the whole thing better. That's how I would describe that whole experience: casting early tournaments by having to collect replays from players. For the Scrolls Invitational as well, that Ice Cream put on a couple years ago. Yeah, those are probably my favorite memories, those days.
So the early days, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not even like the earliest old dog, and I don't think that's really important anyway, but like, there were people before me who were playing Scrolls, you know, in the alpha. I never had alpha access. This was all... my first day of Scrolls was the first day of open beta. And those, to me, are my early days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but actually everything about Scrolls was fun. But yeah.
There are no chat spammers in Siglemic's chat, by the way. It's abnormal to not be a spammer in Siglemic's chat. So I was just a normal guy. I don't go into like random Twitch chats and spam Frankers. It's a shame because I don't think he streams Mario 64 anymore, but it's whenever he was in his prime of doing that. That was great free entertainment, I gotta say. Better than anything cable had to offer.
Okay.
Mizola. Thank you. Yes, Mazola was the ESL admin's name.
Okay. So, yeah, I ran through Squiddy's questions. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Let me look at the document here. I mean, I think we covered way more than
Yes,
this,
of course.
I mean, yeah, I think I covered most of what I'd like to say. I mean, this still doesn't cover it all. I hope some of what I said was enlightened, or wasn't enlightened, or at least made you think about something that you normally wouldn't have thought about. Or maybe not. I don't know. As long as you keep an open mind about this whole situation.
Yeah, I have just one more question, and a lot of people asked these questions, and it was why the timing between Echoes and Minecon?
Okay, so this is a question that the developers are actually going to answer, so I don't want to take too much. But I mean, I think it's to put it simply, it's unfortunate. It's not the way we wanted it to happen if we could choose how it would happen. But you have to make a decision. Do you want to be dishonest to your players, or do you want to just tell them what's up? You know, that's what it comes down to. If so many things would be different if the Scrolls team, if Mojang didn't care about the players. First of all, Echoes would never have been out. Custom matches have never been out. They could just pull the plug if they didn't care. You know, obviously they weren't making efforts. You know, popularity wasn't going to suddenly go up. So how much development was spent on just putting the game in a great state for the players, knowing that it's not going to be a huge success, right? So Echoes wouldn't have been out. Custom matches wouldn't exist. Minecon Open wouldn't be happening. Servers wouldn't continue to run until July. I mean, so many things are happening because they care. And I think a lot of people think it's the reverse, that they don't care that it's happening. So, I mean, yeah, the announcement could have been held off till after Minecon. But what good does it do? Is that what players want, to not know the truth? Or do they want to know? I would argue that they want to know the truth. So the timing is just unfortunate, you know. And the whole timing of the Minecon Open is hard too, because Echoes was delayed farther than anyone would have liked. So we only had a few weeks to prepare the Minecon Open. We only had a few weeks to make the announcement, to do all this stuff. The timing window was just so incredibly cramped. It's just, I would just describe it as unfortunate. And I don't want to take too many words out of the developer's mouths, because there will be a question and answer coming up soon, where they go into a lot more detail than I do.
You okay, Atmaz?
Yeah, once again, I'm not crying. I really have like indigestion because I'm talking so much.
Okay.
Like I'm not. Yeah, I mean I'm emotional, but I'm not upset.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we've covered not everything, but the most important stuff.
Yeah. I mean, are there any questions that you have? I mean, you play the game. I know you haven't been around for as long as some people, but you have been long around. You've had a couple Pineapple Cups, which have been really cool. You've contributed a lot. So, I mean, what questions do you have?
Well, yeah, so like I said about the timing, and yeah, I think Scrolls was really awesome. It was my first time streaming was on Scrolls and stuff, and my first tournament, and you once made a post on Scrolls like, if anyone wants to organize a tournament, just contact me. And I was like, should I do this? And I'm glad I did it. Organize tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, that was great. I mean, I'm glad you stepped up. Like, I really, I was looking for people to step up. I think we needed it. We needed some more tournaments, and yeah, you respond like, yeah. I mean, it was easy, right? Like, was it difficult to set up? I mean, obviously running the tournament is different, but just to start the tournament, it wasn't very difficult, was it?
No, but the first time I was like, when I made the post about the tournament, it was like, oh my god, if no one's coming, it's going to be so awkward.
Yeah. I mean, there's always that risk, and that can never be predicted. But really, Scrolls players are competitive. Scrolls players have a thirst for tournaments, and if you build it, they will come. It's kind of like that. How many come is dependent on a lot of other factors, but I've only seen a few tournaments not really happen, and if you give any sort of advance notice at all, they're almost always going to happen. But if you like try to do one really quickly and the communication is vague, I've seen those fall apart. But yeah, Scrolls players love to compete, so.
Yeah, nice. I really love the community and stuff, because if the community wasn't that nice, I would never had a stream. So thanks, community.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna repeat that from earlier. Like, gotta say, one of the best things about Scrolls is the community. I don't think anyone can argue against that. I have played a lot of online games in my time, a lot more than I could even count, and I can't remember a single community that has been better than Scrolls. Most of the time, it's not being a part of the community is not what you want to do, because it's just toxic to deal with most of the time, online game communities, and I think that's a whole separate topic in itself. But Scrolls is an anomaly where the community is really helpful and nice. I think actually it's a lot of these niche strategy games have that sort of atmosphere. But Scrolls, for some reason, was just really good. Seemed better than a lot of those.
Yeah, I have to say the same. It's really the best community of a game I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
So, anything else?
What will happen to the strategy channel as Anti-Rad? Forever and ever, a strategy channel will be the hangout of the hot boys, where only the deepest strategies are discussed, like whether or not to play a burn or a quake. Those are the biggest talking points of channel strategy. And I see, who is your favorite Scrolls co-community manager? That's a difficult question. I have to get back to you on that. I'll have to get back to you on that question, Gareth. No, I'm just kidding. Gareth's a great co-community manager, and I don't know how much crap he has to take, but Gareth's a great guy, and he's done a lot of work and helped out in so many different ways. It's hard to really say. All the things he does behind the scenes. So I think he's the less visible community manager, so a lot of people might not realize exactly what he does. But
yeah,
he's there. He's
true.
Working. Yeah, I mean that's kind of his position, the nature of his position. So do understand that he's been working hard.
Okay then, if there aren't any more questions from the chat, I guess this is it then, or something else to say?
No, I feel pretty satisfied with what I said. Once again, there will be a Scrolls Talks later on Squiddy's channel.
Yeah. 19 GMT is it, guys?
Yep. That's in, 3 hours-ish. You can figure it out. But, there'll be a lot of players there talking about things. And I can't be there to discuss it. It's my biggest regret. So please, anyone who's talking in that podcast, just take in consideration what I've said here, and apply it to your own thoughts. And yeah, just consider. Just take some time to consider the situation. And I just want to thank everybody for just being just great guys, great community. Everyone probably who's in the stream chat, unless there's hidden lurkers, you're all great guys. There's disagreements and there's all that stuff, but Scrolls is great. Community is great. Thanks a lot, everybody, and thanks for having me.
No problem, Atmaz. I really enjoy hearing you talk.
All right. Well, you have yourself a good day, sir.
You too, Atmaz.
Farewell.
User disconnected from your channel.
So that was it, guys. I'm not going to keep streaming until the Scrolls Talk, but the Scrolls Talk will start at 19 GMTs, like I said earlier. So thanks all for being here, and probably only because Atmaz was here, but anyway, awesome. You guys are awesome. Without you, I would never have started streaming, so. Sakuso, yeah, I think it's 1 hour and 45 minutes. That should be 19 GMT, unless Squiddy messed up. So, yeah, I'm going to stop the stream here, guys. Be sure to check ScrollsTalk at 19 GMT. Peace, guys. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Peace, guys. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.